How many deaths are in each Star Wars movie? And I'm only talking named characters because otherwise A New Hope would be in the billions for sure.
Oh no! Anyway, last week...
But after finding out how much misery is in each Star Wars, we will compare all of them to see which comes out with the most deaths. But without any waiting, let's get into our first movie with the Phantom Menace, which has 13 different on-screen named deaths. And yeah, if someone who has a name dies off screen, then sorry, not sorry, I'm not talking about them. Our first deaths to look at are from the two Republic pilots of Captain Madakor and Lieutenant Williams, who are tragically blown up on the Trade Federation Lucre Hulk. Also, Commander 2163 is destroyed by Qui-Gon on Naboo, R2-R9, R2-B1, and G8-R3 are all blown up in space. Rats Terrell, whose wife and kids were watching by the way, is killed in a fiery explosion during the pod race. Dalte Dauphine and Tohei are killed in the Battle of Naboo, along with OOM-9 and two other named battle droids. Finally, Qui-Gon is killed here, which concludes our first prequel film that had 13 deaths in total. Attack of the Clones, on the other hand, despite its darker tone, had less tragedy with only 12 different deaths. In the opening scene alone, we get the death of Corday along with 3 other Naboo characters. Then ASN-121 plus Sam Wessel are both taken out. What you say? We can't forget the tragic death of Shmi Skywalker on Tatooine as well, followed by the droid 3642 and multiple Jedi including Coleman Trebor, Sar Labuda, and Tan Yuster. Jango Fett gets a heads up from Mace Windu, and then that sums up our 12 episode 2 deaths. And taking a quick look at the Clone Wars movie, this film, which is literally just 4 Clone Wars episodes stitched together, has 1 on-screen named character death, which really are rookie numbers considering this whole movie is about a war. And that 1 death goes to 4AZ, so good job 4AZ for getting destroyed. Moving on to Revenge of the Sith, we have an incredible 30 different deaths starting at the Battle of Coruscant with R4-P17, who Obi-Wan had surprisingly no reaction to whatsoever.
Oh dear.
Then Count Dooku, leader of the Separatists, is killed by Anakin, followed by 2 Magna Guards, respectively named IG-101 and IG-102. Then, General Grievous, the top G himself, is killed by Obi-Wan because, apparently, the metal he uses to encase his insides is just plastic from how Obi-Wan is able to pry it open here. Then my boys Aegon Kolar, Saesee Tiin, and Kit Fisto are all mercilessly killed by the Senate. And the BMF, Mace Windu, is taken out in the exact way Samuel L. Jackson asked George Lucas for his character to not die, as a punk. Then with Order 66, we have a massive onslaught of Jedi deaths, with Ki-Adi-Mundi, Aayla Secura, Plo Koon, and his droid R4-F5, Stas Ali, and Zet Jukasa, then also a named battle droid, Commander Gree, Captain Jack, and Boga die here as well. We, Malrooks, and Bean are killed in the hologram. Then also Denari Ki, Nak Tun, Pascal Argente, Po Nudo, Poggle the Lesser, Rune Hako, Root Gunray, and Newt Gunray are all murdered on screen on Mustafar. This movie ends with Padme Amidala's death, again bringing us to 30 deaths in total. Looking at the spin-offs, we first have Solo, a Star Wars story, which has a total of 14 deaths. Major Stas, Captain Benivas, Moda Max, Baruch Pak, Rio Durant, Val, Dials and Nevi, WG-22, Quay Tulsite, L-337, the Suma Verminoth, Captain Grimm, Dryden Voss, and then of course the legendary Tobias Beckett all die in this film. But our next movie is infamous for everyone dying in it, that being Rogue One, which has 31 deaths throughout. Starting with Lyra Erso, the mother of Jin, we then see the deaths of Tivik, Jimon, Saw Gerrera, Ciro Argon, Vex Onapin, Arms Uravan, Fiend Van. Uyoan, and Galen Urso. Then also at Scarif, Vangos Grek, Peldrin Gall, K2SO, Storden Tonk, Antok Merrick, and R2SHW, Chirrut Imwe, Bodhi Rook, Baze Malbus, 8 more Rebels and Imperials, as well as Director Krennic, Jyn Erso, and Cassian Andor. Going to the originals, we have A New Hope, which has a slightly more tame 22 deaths. In the opening scene, we have Captain Antilles' death at the hands of Darth Vader, literally, followed by Commander 9091, and then Chief Nebbit of the Jawas. Owen and Beru Lars are in the smoldering home, Greedo, Lieutenant Childsden, then Obi-Wan Kenobi, who transcends into the cosmic force as a Force ghost. Also Lieutenant Oxixo, who is flying a TIE fighter, and then there's Porkins and R5-D8, as well as 8 more Rebel X-Wing pilots, including Rallo Sorel and Biggs Darklighter. The TIE fighter pilots Backstabber and Mythel are killed here as well. Then finally Grand Moff Tarkin, who blows up with the Death Star. While we don't technically see him die, we do see his face a millisecond before the station blows up, which I'm gonna count. And hey, there's always this AI clip from Star Wars Tales Untold. Moving on to Episode 5, the Empire tried and failed to strike back, with only 9 deaths in this movie. First, Luke's Tauntaun Rita is killed by the Wampa, then another Tauntaun and Imperial probe droid are taken out, followed by Admiral Ozzel, who messed with the wrong Sith. Then Dak Ralter, Zev Sineska, and Kit Valent all die on Hoth. Captain Cannon House is blown up by an asteroid, and from here on out, for each movie, I will also be looking at the most embarrassing death from each, which for this one goes to Mr. Cannon House. And my boy got blown up by just sitting around in his command bridge doing nothing. Then there's Captain Nita, who is choked by Darth Vader. Closing off the original trilogy, we have Return of the Jedi, which has 28 deaths. In Jabba's palace, we have Ula, Jubnuk, Patissa the Rancor, 7 more named goons, and then of course Jabba the Hutt himself. Also, Kithaba, Visa, and Woof are all also killed in the sail barge. And I'm counting Woof as the most stupid because just his name, bro, you honestly deserve that award. Unlike all of these brutal deaths though, Yoda has a peaceful end in his sleep. During the Battle of Endor, 4 named rebels and 7 named Imperials are killed, including Admiral Piet, who managed to survive for most of the original trilogy, what a G, and then Emperor Palpatine, followed by Anakin Skywalker.
You were the chosen one!
Both pass on at the end, one more so than the other.
We pop out at 1 in the morning.
Moving on to the sequels, we first have The Force Awakens, which had 28 deaths and featured Han Solo's death at the hands of Kylo Ren, aka Space Emo number 2. Also, we can't forget about FN2199, who faced Finn in a 1v1 and gets the award for the stupidest death here because he took a baton to a lightsaber fight. But real quick, here's the Christian advice of this video. If you want to get back to see how many deaths are in each Star Wars movie, then go to this time right here. Now today I actually wanted to talk about something that isn't necessarily biblical, but I did think was a really cool piece of advice nonetheless, and that is the idea that any task in your life, as much as it may seem physical, is almost always just a battle against your mental block. There's always some mental block, and it's always a game in your mind of your mind telling you, I can't do this, but really, in theory, almost anything you can do. Maybe think about that when going into a difficult situation, and that might give you a little more strength to push through it. And also, of course, remember, all things are possible through Christ who gives me strength. But getting back to the video, just a reminder that you can subscribe if you enjoyed this video and wanted to, as it does really support me and definitely would make my day as well. But yeah, let's get back to the video. Next up is The Last Jedi, which had 21 deaths in total, including Jacris Tubbs, who might be related to Porkins himself, also Supreme Leader Snoke, Admiral Holdo, Admiral Akbar, and the legendary Luke Skywalker, who gets the stupidest death in this movie award because he literally just was too tired. And finishing with the Rise of Skywalker, we have one more than Episode 8, with 22 deaths in this movie, from characters like Leia Organa, Ben Solo, and even Palpatine again. And you'll never guess who gets the worst death in this movie. That definitely is Palpatine, because bro literally just stood there and let himself get killed by the lightning. So yeah, good job, Palps. Looking back over our data, our Star Wars movie with the most named character kills is Rogue One with 31 different deaths, followed closely behind by Revenge of the Sith with 30 deaths. And on average, the sequels had the most character deaths, with each film having 20 to 30 deaths in them, that being named character. Because of course, like I said, A New Hope would have in the billions with the destruction of Alderaan and the Death Star from the hands of Luke. I mean, Luke is literally a terrorist in this movie, bro. And let me know if you want to see a follow-up video with the various seasons of the Clone Wars. But anyway, that's it for this video. Just a real quick thing I wanted to say, definitely check out Andor Season 2 if you haven't. I think they're doing some really cool stuff with this season, and definitely is worth watching, I must say. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, then you might also like this one where I looked at how many days are in each Star Wars movie. But yeah, see ya.